So it is quite a process for a high school senior to go through. It's not just writing an essay and handing that over. There is a lot, GPA and references and things like that. So, again, it's not an easy process. It is going to take some time for a high school student to go through this process.
Yeah, it would take some time, but probably no more than any average scholarship nowadays would be looking for.
Okay, great. Now, I mentioned the essay, you mentioned the essay. What is the essay topic?
The essay is a quote from Vince, and
Okay.
Vince had talked about when people reach out for help, making sure that we do reach back to them, and the compassion that it takes to do that, the courage it takes to ask for help, the type of person you need to be to reach back and, doing what you can. There is a quote, to bend the rules if you must, but make sure that you are reaching back.
Okay.
And what that means in the students' daily lives and how they would carry on Vince's legacy.
Okay. And the timing of the application, how is that, what is the timing of the application? And
The applications are sent out to all the 7 high schools that are in our area in January. I've already been coordinating with all of the guidance counselors at all the high schools, so they are aware of the scholarship and the process. They'll have all the materials, so they can go to their guidance counselors to get them, and we will also put the applications up on our website. Some of the schools use the forms a little bit differently, so we just advise you, if you're getting it from the website, to make sure that you're using the form that's dedicated to your school.
Okay. And for those people who don't know our website, it's
www.glss.net.
there we go. As far as the area that this scholarship is covering, it's the 5 towns?
Yep, we serve Lynn, Linfield, Nahant, Saugus, and Swampscott,
Okay.
and there are 7 high schools
Okay.
in that area. We do include St. Mary's, the private high school, as well.
Okay, great. As far as applications that you get, since you've been involved in it, how many applications come in for this scholarship?
I'd say in a typical year we could probably get about 50 applications. We hope, always to get more. We'd love to see more people applying for it, so that's one of the reasons, we're putting it on the show to advertise it a little
Sure.
bit more.
And do you get a representation from all the schools when you send it out, or?
Some more than others.
Okay.
I mean, typically we get a lot more Lynn students because there are more high schools in Lynn
Sure.
than the other towns, but all the high schools do send in applications.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the process that you go through, or your committee goes through in I guess, I don't want to say rating the applications, but really that's what you're doing, I'm assuming. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that and how that works.
Yep. Well, first, all the scholarships come to me, and I have a checklist to make sure that all the applications have all of the required materials. And if they don't, unfortunately, they are not counted out of fairness to the complete applications. But I have a checklist to see if they've used our application, the essay, if they have the 2 recommendations, if they have their transcript. And then what I actually do is remove all of the identifying information, which is a process in itself. So
Sure.
I make copies and I remove everybody's names, phone numbers, the high school they go to, anything that identifies who that would be. And the committee takes a look at strictly your essay, your community service, and what your grades are to make their determinations. And they score on a scale based on how strongly they feel that the applications are. So they're ranking them out of all the applications they get,
Okay.
not just by high school or anything like that.
So the raters, or the people that are judging the applicants or the applications, they don't know who the applicant is?
No,
Do they know what school they're from?
no.
No. So they don't have any of that. It's very objective.
Right, so they award the 2 best that they feel, the 2 best applications.
Okay. In doing this, or going through this process, I guess it's important just to talk about, for students who are going to apply, to make sure that they have sent everything in, because there's no redos. So if they don't send in their transcripts, or they don't have the letter of reference, they're automatically disqualified.
Right, and that's been an issue with several applications in the past. I know some of the high schools have a common application form that the students can, check off. They list the scholarships 1 through 50 that the school knows about, and the students can check off, I'm applying for scholarship 2, 10, and 7, and they, send it all out. But the problem with that is that that doesn't contain all the required materials that the Lique Scholarship asks for. So it's really important that students use our form so that they are they will be considered with the right materials.
Okay, so parents out there that know about this, students that know about this, guidance counselors that know about this, make sure that you are reading the application and meeting the requirements for what needs to be submitted for this particular scholarship, so that you do or are given a chance to compete. And so we give 2 scholarships.
Right, we give 2 scholarships, each worth $3,500.
Okay, which is a tremendous amount of money based on the cost of schools as they are now. So it sounds like quite a process.
It is.
So once they get done rating it, what happens at that point? The 2 best from, if you have as many people as you have looking at there's got to be differences of opinions when you're looking at, especially the essays, I think, which becomes the GPA is one thing, the recommendations are another, but when you're looking at the essay, that's the individual really telling you about themselves and why they think that they are, I guess, exemplifying, Vince's vision and his meaning. So.
Right, and that's where the most discussion comes up. We do have a sort of rubric that we use based on how heavily we're weighing people's GPAs versus recommendations, and that's where most of the discussion is about the essay, about what students write. That's really the meat of it, of where they see themselves making a difference in the world, how their community service is impacting. And that's why the committee that knew Vince can really take a look at the essays and see which ones they think are going to follow in his footsteps and be the ones that GLIS is going to choose to award.
Okay, and once the decision has been made by the committee, how are the students notified?
It depends on the school.
Okay.
I coordinate with the guidance counselor. Some schools have an awards night that they actually surprise the recipient, so they don't know that they've won the award. Some schools ask us to send a letter and the check directly to the student. So it really just depends on the school's wishes of how we notify them. But everybody will get a letter that they won, or saying, thank you for your application, but it was very competitive, and we didn't choose to award you this year.
Okay, all right. As Emily had stated in the interview when we talked to her about the scholarship and the money, she said that it came in very useful to her. I mean, $3,500 again is a lot of money in putting that towards college, with the cost of college these days. She also said that she had applied to many scholarships, many local smaller scholarships, and that money really adds up.
It does.
And so having that $3,500 there, so I encourage, again, students, parents, mentors, guidance counselors, anybody, high school seniors going off to college, thinking about pursuing a career in human services, to really go after this scholarship. You graduated not too long ago.
I graduated in 2008 from college.
Okay. Maybe you can talk about your experience as you were getting ready to transition from high school to being a freshman in college, where you went, and scholarships and how that whole thing worked.
I graduated in 2004 from Lynn English, so I'm local as well. I went to Worcester Polytechnic Institute, and I have a degree in professional writing. But scholarships were, definitely a big part of looking at schools. With the cost today, schools can be over $40,000 a year. And even if you get scholarships, they don't typically pay for things like books or your meal plan or room and board, so your fees. So all of those are extra costs that you have to add into consideration. And a lot of the scholarships will typically, be looking for the same types of themes in essays. So, that's one tip, that I would advise is, to sort of have a base outline of an essay that you can then, custom tailor. to the different topics.
Okay.
And definitely, you know, I've heard a lot of younger students now saying, well, the scholarship's only for $1,000 or it's only for $500 and I need $40,000. But I would say, you know, still definitely apply for it. The answer is always no unless you try.
Right.
And especially every penny adds up when you're looking at, you know, student loans and taking on the interest and repaying that out of school. You know, you're much better off going for the $1,000 up front than paying that back later.
Right, right. That's good advice. Emily had talked about when she was writing her essays and the scholarships that she had applied to. She talked about really applying to scholarships that defined her. And I think that says a lot, because there are so many scholarships out there that there are books written about them, the scholarship guides, and there are thousands of scholarships. But really, if you can find scholarships that define who you are, like she did, community service based and things like that, it must make it much easier to go through the application process. Or I don't want to say make up things on an essay, but you're really telling people who you are. So I think to your point about having an outline of an essay already done, it's easy to tailor that if you're really going towards, again, those scholarships that define who you are. So it's quite a process being a parent who has a son as a freshman this year in college. Really trying to get him, and I don't know if it's a guy and a girl thing or what it is, but really trying to get him to go after scholarships. It was like pulling teeth. There was a difficult situation, and when you get that tuition bill and you see how much it is, and you're not ready. And we had many discussions about apply for this scholarship, and to your point, $1,000 and $500, no, it really doesn't matter. It does matter, because that's a semester's worth of books nowadays and things like that. So it's a process, and again, encouraging people to apply for any scholarships out there. And I think your advice is good, as well as what Emily had to say about it. And I think that we are giving back to the community here at Greater Lynn Senior Services by having that scholarship, the Vincent J. Lique Scholarships. So I'd like to thank you today for coming and talking about the process, and actually here today, and you giving your time to the committee here at Greater Lynn Senior Services. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today in our discussion. And again, if you're interested in the scholarship, please go to www.glss.net and you can look at the application online. And thank you.